Well, we're back right here on Hala, Kuwait, and I hope everyone out there is enjoying their evening. We have with us right now Sharafuddin Sufi, English Khatib at Ministry of Awqaf. We'd like to welcome you to our program once again, and Ramadan Kareem to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tariq. Ramadan Kareem to you too.
And maybe we'd start out by informing our audience a little bit about the rituals of the holy month of Ramadan, please.
As you know, month of Ramadan is a very important month for all Muslims, and it is 9th month of lunar year. And we can categorize the rituals as ritual during the commencement of Ramadan, and rituals during the Ramadan, and rituals during last 10 days of Ramadan, and rituals during the end of Ramadan. And if you classify this, I am going to the rituals which is explained in Quran and Sunnah, the traditions of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The first ritual is sighting the moon, sighting the new crescent. With that, Ramadan commences. So this is the first ritual at the outset of the Ramadan. And during the Ramadan, there are main two rituals. One is Siyam, another one is Qiyam, which means fasting during the day and waking up during the nights. These are the two important rituals. And when it comes to the last part of Ramadan, during last 10 days of Ramadan, there is a night called Night of Qadr, or Laylatul Qadr, or Night of Destiny, or Night of Power, or Night of Glory, and different names are there for it. And one has to seek it during the odd nights of Ramadan. And for that, there will be a lot of activities during the last 10 days of Ramadan. And finally, again, seeing the crescent and declaring the end of Ramadan. These are some of the major rituals which is common for Ramadan around the globe.
Tell our audience a little bit. You mentioned now a little bit about how they're performed, but tell us in more detail how these rituals are performed, please.
Thank you very much. And this is, for example, seeing the moon or seeing the crescent. This in Muslim countries is taken care by the Crescent Watching Committee set by Ministry of Awqaf and the government. And in other countries by the authorities set by Muslim community. And if you take the Siyam, for example, during the fasting during the day, and there are two important rituals, which is Suhoor and Futur, which means pre-dawn meal and breaking the fast in the evening. And for this it changes as per the culture. Every culture, they have different kinds of Suhoor, different kinds of Futur. And when it comes to Qiyam, it's called Salat al-Tarawih or Tarawih prayers. There are 8 units of Tarawih prayers, and this is a great attraction in the month of Ramadan, that usually reciters, those who have memorized Quran with a beautiful recitation, will lead the prayer, and a lot of people are flocked to attend these prayers. And during the last 10 days of Ramadan, there is Qiyamul Layl, or waking up for the late night prayers. And you can see, especially in Kuwait, more than 1 million people gather in Masjid al-Kabir, and it's a big attraction. And meanwhile, a lot of people gather every part of the world and every part of the, Kuwait as well, for the late night prayer. So these are some of the kind of rituals. But again, there is a blend of local culture in every kind of ritual. You will find there is a blend of local culture. Accordingly, it differs.
The last few years, the pandemic has affected everyone around the world. So how did the COVID-19 pandemic affect the rituals of Muslims during Ramadan?
Of course, COVID-19 was a big challenge for the whole humanity, for the whole world. And COVID-19 especially, it affected, we have seen 3 Ramadans from COVID-19 until today. And after COVID-19, the first Ramadan which affected was 1920. And 1920 was total lockdown everywhere, and especially in Kuwait. And there is also all these rituals which I mentioned, there is a social aspect in it. And social aspect was totally zero. For everything, including the Ramadan activity, there was no social activity at all. Because for Suhoor, for Futur, for Qiyamul Layl, for waking up during the late night prayers, everything, there is a social aspect in it. It was totally zero. But in 1921, it was slightly better because of the very beautiful measures taken by the Kuwaiti government. Pandemic is reduced, and there was partial curfew after 6 p.m. But some of the things were allowed. But social distancing was there. You had to take your own mat, go to the masjid with social distancing, and there were no futur arrangements in the masjid. So, partially it affected, again social things were, so many things were missing, but it was better. But this year you can see that because pandemic is controlled in a way by the measures taken by the Kuwaiti government as well as various governments around the world, now pandemic is in a better shape, in the sense people are free to move around. And this year it is much better and almost normal. You can see that the social aspect is there. There is arrangement for the breaking of the fast in every masjid. There is lot of socialization arrangements, and there is no distance in the masajid. And one need not have to take the mat and mosque. It's not compulsory. It's optional. So you can see that this year almost everything is back to normal, and people are enjoying the festivity and the glory and a kind of social aspect of Ramadan also in a nice manner.
So tell us, how do the rituals of Ramadan differ all over the Arab countries? You said every country has some of their own traditions and so forth. So tell us a little bit more about this, please.
You can see that, as I told you, these rituals which I mentioned is from Quran and Sunnah, from Quran and the traditions of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. But Islam gives a flexibility to have their own culture, meanwhile following the rituals. And especially in Arab countries, you can see that every Arab country has its own splendor and beauty and glory when it comes to Ramadan. And among the Arab countries, I would say the most glorious part of Arab country with regard to Ramadan is Saudi Arabia, because of the existence of two holy mosques or two sacred mosques, Masjid al-Nabawi and Masjid al-Haram. And it is mentioned in the traditions of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that a person go for the short pilgrimage, that is Umrah, will get the reward of Hajj. That's why you can see people are flocking to Saudi Arabia in the month of Ramadan. And this year they have also opened for Umrah pilgrimage, and people are going in large number. And they arrange a mega suhoor and mega futur arrangement by the grace of Allah. And this kind of glory and arrangement you will find only in Saudi Arabia. Also, you can see that every country has its own traditions. Like, for example, when it comes to Ramadanic rituals, there is lot of traditions of Kuwait as well, in a country like Kuwait. For example, one day before the Ramadan, there is a mega lunch called al-Karish. Okay, people have mega lunch and people enjoy it. This is a special tradition you will find, especially in Kuwait. And also in 15th of Ramadan, there is a festivity called Girgiyan, where children wear nice clothes and go to the neighborhood to seek for chocolates and for nuts and these kind of things. And it is, it has an old tradition actually. From 18th century, this region was called as Bahrain, Al-Bahrain. So Al-Bahrain is Eastern Arabia. So in Eastern Arabia, this tradition is there from long time. And this is again a Ramadan related culture affiliated to the rituals, and it is part of the culture. And also you can say there is a meal called Ghabka, which is in the nights after ending Taraweeh prayers, people go for meals. This is there in Kuwait. And these kind of traditions you can find in Kuwait. For example, if you go to Egypt, a lot of lanterns and people go for waking up during the nights in the streets and in villages, and a lot of children go with them. And this is Mashariya, and it's a kind of tradition in Egypt. Like that, you will find every Arab country has their own culture blended with the rituals, and it beautifies. And not only Arab country, in the Eastern world there are two major Muslim countries, Indonesia and Malaysia. And they have their own culture, they have their own names. For example, for Eid, they call Hari Raya. And Hari Raya is a major thing for them. And like that, in every country, you see that these traditions are blended with the local culture, and it beautifies, and it has its own message, it has its own festivities, and it has its own pleasure for the people of various countries living in the month of Ramadan.
That's very good information. Thank you for sharing that with our audience. And now also we have another question for you. So how will the prayers take place this year, taking into consideration, the safety issues regarding COVID-19? You touched on that earlier.
Yes.
Maybe you tell us a little bit more. I think things are a little more easier now, correct?
Correct, yes, of course. For example, this year, you can find that most of the restrictions are, are remote.
Relaxed.
And you will relaxed, yes. And you can find that, it's the first time after 2 years, again, going back to the glory of Ramadan. So you will definitely find a lot of interest and enthusiasm among people. But there is some restrictions for Musalla Nisa, ladies' prayer in some of the masajid. There is some restrictions to go and open the masjid late night. So there are little restrictions are there, but most of the restrictions are removed, and you can find more enthusiasm among the people. And that's why you can see that the festivities are back and the rituals are back, and the social aspect of Ramadan is back this year. So this year it is really, people are enjoying it and remembering the old glorious days before the pandemic.
So what advice do you have for the people to maintain the Ramadan rituals, please?
It's a very good question. And one has to maintain the Ramadan rituals, and end of the day, it's not only rituals. There is a, Prophet Muhammad said, peace be upon him, that it's not only fasting. Man lam yada qawla zuri wal amala bihi falaysa lillahi hajatun ala an yada ta'amahu wa sharabahu. What Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said is that if a man is not refraining from food and drink, and if a man is not refraining from telling lies and acting upon lies, Allah is not in need of his refraining from food and drink. Man lam yada qawla zuri wal amala bihi falaysa lillahi hajatun to shun the eating and drinking. So what it means is that one has to become a nice person. One has to change himself, and this is a training period. In this training period, one has to become a nice person. And Ramadan contributes gloriously to the human being, because there are more than several billion Muslims around the globe. Several million Muslims, 1 month, they are positively contributing, becoming a good person, giving charities, and it means a big contribution to human society. And every person should feel that what is my contribution to human society. If this feeling is there, and if this positive participation is there by human beings, then it will definitely have a big impact on human society. And one has to be serious about this kind of thinking about Ramadan, and it will definitely impact, and it will give a positive impact to the human society.
Do you have any last words or comments that you'd like to share with the audience who are watching Hala Kuwait and learning from your vast experience about this holy month of Ramadan, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Tariq. As we are in the month of Ramadan, and it is a great opportunity for us. And Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah says, Yuridullahu bikum al-yusr wa la yuridu bikum al-usr. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala says that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala intended ease for you and is not intending you to put in difficulty. So people think that fasting for long hours is a difficult thing, but it's a very good thing for training, to change oneself. So it's a kind of changing a training period. So what one has to do is to utilize this training period. It's 1 month training period, but 11 months of action is there. So we have to utilize this training period, and the country is given opportunity that everything is blended and kind of customized according to the needs of Ramadan. So one has to change oneself and to get ready for 11 months of goodness, and this may have positive impact to oneself and positive repercussions on society, and one should care about it, really.
That's true, and we'd like to thank you for your insight and valuable time with us this evening right here on Hala Kuwait, and Ramadan Kareem to you.
Ramadan Kareem to you, Tariq, and inshallah hope to see you again.
Inshallah, we look forward to that. We'd like to thank our distinguished guest, Sharafuddin Sufi, English Khatib at the Ministry of Awqaf, for his time with us.